In this question, we've been asked to convert the following speeds from kilometers per hour into meters per second. So these are compound units, units that contain two different units that are measuring two different variables. So we have a measure of distance per measure of time, kilometers per hour through to meters per second. This sort of question has multiple scale factors that you need to use. And rather than use them all at once, I recommend that you do one step at a time. Here, we're trying to change 360 kilometers per hour. I'm going to change one unit at a time. Kilometers per minute, so hours have changed to minutes. Next, I'll try to find meters per minute. Kilometers have changed to meters. And lastly, I'll go for meters per second. When we're doing one step at a time, it's easier to see what's happening with the scale factor. Is the number meant to be getting bigger in this context, or is it meant to be getting smaller in this context? So, if I can travel 360 kilometers in an hour, will I travel more kilometers or less kilometers in a minute? It's going to be less kilometers in a minute. So we know there's a scale factor of 60 and we're going to be dividing by 60. So that gives us 6 kilometers per minute. We're going to ask ourselves a similar question. If I travel 6 kilometers in a minute, the amount of meters in a minute, will that be more or less? Well, however many kilometers we have, we know there are a lot more meters in that same distance. We should be multiplying by our scale factor. Scale factor 1000. So we have 6,000 meters per minute. And the last question to ask ourselves, if we travel 6,000 meters per minute, will we be traveling more or less meters in a second? It's going to be less. It's going to be fewer meters in a second. So it's once again dividing. We're going to be dividing by 60, and that gives us 100 meters per second. So I recommend you do take the time. It's just a few more seconds, probably 20 seconds at most, to make sure that you're thinking logically in the context of one unit to the next, whether or not you're multiplying or dividing the scale factor that I know you know. Too many students lose their marks on not being able to change the unit effectively. So 18 kilometers per hour, we're going to convert to kilometers per minute, then meters per minute, and then meters per second. If we have 18 kilometers per hour, would we travel more or less kilometers in a minute? We're going to travel less since we have less time to complete the journey. We're going to divide by the scale factor. That gets us 0.3 kilometers per minute. However many kilometers I can travel in a minute, I know it's going to be more meters. There are more meters than kilometers. Every 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. So I'm going to multiply by that scale factor of 1,000. That gets us 300 meters per minute. And however many meters I can travel in a minute, there will be fewer traveled in a second. So we're dividing by the scale factor. We're dividing by the 60, and that gives us 5 meters per second. Okay, definitely just take the time to make sure you've worked through these conversions. Ultimately, accuracy matters more than speed. So this is to ensure that you're going to be accurate. Just take the time to write down the steps and think logically about how the scale factors are to be applied.